Welcome back to another episode of Good Food Hood Dude. I'm Chef D, and I'm gonna bring you some dope ass dishes. Today I'm gonna be bringing you a pan-seared marinated pork loin over a bed of fresh quinoa salad. Let's get to it. All right, so as you can see, we have a nice, beautiful piece of pork loin right here. This is actually pork tenderloin, which we're going to marinate and then we'll sear. Lemon juice, fresh squeezed lemon juice. We have some white quinoa, some Dijon mustard. Right here we have some diced red onions, minced garlic. We have some chopped cherry tomatoes. We have a mix of chiffonade, mint, and parsley. Here you can see we have some red wine vinegar, some fresh thyme, nice cucumber, and a nice green apple. This is a Granny Smith apple. And we'll slice that together with red onion and caramelize that with the pork and add that right at the end. So first things first, since the quinoa is going to take about 15 minutes to cook, let's go ahead and get the quinoa started. And then the next thing we can do is go ahead and marinate the pork. So let's get our pot here, our sauce pot, nice and hot. I'm going to add in about 2 cups of water and just a pinch of salt, and we'll go ahead and bring that to a boil, and then we can add in our quinoa. So we have about a cup of white quinoa here. So what we want to do with the quinoa is rinse this. So let's go over here to the sink. So we want to rinse our quinoa. So I have a small strainer here. Go ahead and add your quinoa right to that. So add it right to the strainer and just run it under some cool water. This will get rid of any excess grittiness, any dirt or anything that's inside the quinoa. Give it a little shake and set it to the side. And we're still waiting for our water to boil, so we'll just set it to the side. All right, guys, so our water is boiling right now. Let's go ahead and get ready to add in our quinoa. So let's go ahead and add that right into the pot. And just give it a quick stir. And then actually what we're gonna do is bring the heat down to low and let that simmer for about 15 minutes. So we'll set a timer, 15 minutes, and we should be good to go on the quinoa. So let's go ahead and get this piece of pork marinated and set to the side while quinoa is cooking. So for this, I'm gonna go ahead and put some gloves on. All right, so what I'll do is I have a nice Ziploc bag that we can use to marinate our pork in. So what I want to do is basically just take some of this nice Dijon mustard and kind of rub it all over the pork. So I would say about a tablespoon of Dijon, and just kind of rub that over the pork. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get our bag open, and then we can stick our pork right inside and set that to the side. We're also going to add in a little bit of lemon juice right into the bag. I'd say about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then we're going to add some fresh thyme, about maybe 4 or 5 sprigs of thyme right into our bag. And just a little bit of minced garlic. About 2 teaspoons of minced garlic to your marinade. Just kind of mix that around. Roll it up. And then we'll go ahead and pop this in the fridge and let it marinate. I had 1 piece of pork marinating overnight. Let's go ahead and get into this. So let's open this up. This has been marinating overnight, so it should be full of flavor. As you can see, yeah, check that out, guys. Nice piece of pork loin, and you can just go ahead and discard this marinade. So what we're going to do with this is just kind of pat it dry and take any of this excess thyme off. And then what we're going to do is just hit it with a little bit of salt and pepper to season it. So there we go, we got our pork ready to be sauteed. All right, so while we're waiting for our quinoa to finish, we got about 4 minutes left on that. Let's go ahead and cut up our green apple and our red onion to be ready for our sauteed pork. All right, so let's get this green apple cut. I'm just gonna take the top and the bottom off. Let's cut out that, set it to the side, and I'm just gonna cut right down the middle. And then again. So as you can see, the core is revealed. We just want to go ahead and cut right down the center, get the core out of there, and you're left with this nice chunk of apple. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it into about wedges, and about 4 wedges. Set it to the side. All right, so let's get this onion cut down. Same thing, we're gonna cut the top and the bottom off of the onion, and then just cut right down the center of that onion. And with this, we're gonna get some nice slices, and it can be a little bigger slices. Again, because we just wanna have some nice caramelized onions for our pork, to top our pork. So basically, we're just gonna go ahead and get some nice slices of onions. So that's good. Go ahead and add that into our bowl with our apples. Our quinoa is ending right now, right on time. So let's go ahead and strain our quinoa. As you can see, it's nice and fluffy, and it's fully cooked. So let's take it over here to the sink. So just go ahead and empty it right into a strainer. Just kind of let that cool down. So guys, you want to taste as you go, just to make sure the flavors are correct. So this quinoa has just a touch of salt. We're going to add more flavor to it later, but it's fully cooked. It has a nice texture. So let's go ahead and start making this quinoa salad. All right, so now that our quinoa is cooling down, let's go ahead and get our cucumber and then other ingredients ready for our salad. So we have a nice Hothouse cucumber here. Let's go ahead and get this chopped up. So we'll just kind of cut it right down the middle, and then just kind of in thirds lengthwise. Then we can just kind of take our knife and make nice dices with our cucumber. Doesn't have to be too big. You want it, it's going to be a salad, so you want it to be nice and bite-sized. Okay, we'll do that same thing again. Again, right down into thirds, and then we'll just nice bite-sized cuts. So that's perfect. So let's go ahead and start mixing our salad. Go ahead and add our quinoa right to the bowl. And to that, we can go ahead and start adding in our ingredients. We'll add some nice cucumbers. I'd say about maybe half a cup of chopped cucumbers. And then we'll do the same with some chopped tomatoes. Let's say about a half a cup of your chopped tomatoes. Put that to the side. And we'll do the same thing with the red onion. About a half a cup. So again, we have some chiffonade mint and parsley. Go ahead and add in about a nice amount of that. You want those flavors to come through. We have some fresh squeezed lemon juice. It's about a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons. Go ahead and add all of that in, as well as a tablespoon of your red wine vinegar. Let's go ahead and get in about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And then of course, it's not complete without some salt and pepper. So you want to add in a generous amount. I'd say about maybe a tablespoon of salt. and about a teaspoon of black pepper. And then we'll just go ahead and mix all of those ingredients up. Again, you're gonna have a lot of flavor in here because you have your mint, your parsley, you have some nice sweetness from the cherry tomatoes, you have that zing from the red onion, and then of course you have some acid. You have the red wine vinegar, you have the lemon juice. So this is gonna be full of flavor, guys. So let's go ahead and set this to the side so we can get our pork loin started. So if you remember, we seasoned the one side with salt and pepper. So when we get it into our sauté pan, we'll season the other side. So let's go ahead and get our olive oil in. Make sure our pan is nice and hot before we add in our pork. All right, guys, so our pan is nice and hot. Let's go ahead and get our pork loin in. Season side down first, right into the pan. And then as we get it in there, let's just go ahead and hit it with some more salt and pepper on both sides. So just keep it moving. Get it nice and crispy on one side, and then we'll turn it. And at that point, we can add in our apples and our onions. Let's go ahead and turn this over, guys. See that beautiful sear on that side? That's perfect. So we'll let this bottom side begin to sear. And then at that point, we can add in our apples and our onions. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and add in our onions and our apples so they can begin to caramelize. Also, we're gonna add in some thyme sprigs. So you can really smell all your flavors really coming together. You got fresh thyme, you know, you got your apples and your onions really coming together. Oh, this is gonna be dope. All right, guys, so before we pop this in the oven, just to slow some of that cooking down and get that nice juices off the bottom of our pan, we're gonna add in a little bit of chicken stock to our pan. And then we'll pop this in our oven, which is preheated at 500 degrees. And it should take about 5 to 6 minutes in the oven. So let's go ahead and check our pork. It should be nice. Ready. We got our onions and our apples caramelized. We have all those flavors. And then we have our chicken stock, which kind of made a nice sauce at the bottom of our pan. So what we're gonna do with our pork, right now it's about medium. Let's go ahead and pull it out of our pan and bring it over here to our cutting board. Let it rest. And what happens is when we're able to let it rest, the juices will kind of tighten back up inside the meat, and it'll, you know, keep the moisture. Otherwise, if you cut it right now, the juices will kind of run all over your plate, and you don't want that. So this is a nice sear on our pork loin. All right, guys, so you see our chicken stock created a nice sauce at the bottom. Our apples are soft, our onions are caramelized. So let's go ahead and take that off the heat, set that to the side, and then we can begin plating. So the first thing I want to do is, remember, we have our quinoa salad here, right, guys? So let's go ahead and start building a bed of quinoa right in the middle of the plate, actually just north of the middle of the plate. Our pork is nice and rested, so what we're gonna do is just go ahead and cut that on a bias. And you can see it's a nice medium color. So let's go ahead and just cut that down into nice slices of meat. We're just gonna go ahead and bring this over to our plating area. We'll just go ahead and transfer our pork right onto our plate. So this is what you're looking for in your meat. You see your juices aren't running. And then remember, we have our sauce and our caramelized onions. All right, guys, that was another dope ass dish. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time.